All right, you've at this point finished your quiz, and we want you to get started on section 1.7. But here's the answers to section 1.6. If you have your homework handy, pull it out, pause it, take a look at your answers. Now, there's going to be some work involved with each problem, but this is going to be the final answer that you need to have for each one. So just kind of grade your own on this. Here's the answers for 50 to 53, where you're converting a sentence to algebra. So again, just pull out your homework and then just take a look, pause this, and then see how you did. And the ones that you didn't know, just circle like 45. That's a little bit difficult. Actually, maybe I'll go over it here with you in a second. All right, here's some of your answers, or excuse me, here's some of the problems. And just to make sure that you understand, so let's just do, one or two together. For 20, you have to show each step. You're allowed to use your calculator within the work, but you have to show each step. So write the original problem down. And in this case here, you got to take a look at what you can do. Now, sometimes you can do two steps in one, which is okay. Sometimes you can't. But here, within this parentheses, I have to multiply before I add. So I have to do 6 times 3. So that becomes 6 plus 6, or excuse me, 2 times 3, divided by, now since these are two separate, I can do 9 minus 7 and go ahead and do that. But I have to do that before I do the exponent. You have to do parentheses first. Okay, what is 6 plus 6? 6 plus 6 is 12, divided by, well, what's 2 squared? 2 squared is 4. 12 divided by 4 gives you 3. Okay, so make sure you show and you validate each step. Now within there, and there wasn't too many difficult cases here where you needed your calculator, but if there are, you can use that to do the actual math. All right, 45, let's take a look at that one. Square root of 3 squared minus 5, now that's all under the square root sign, divided by 8. This parentheses is like a grouping symbol. You have to do everything inside first and get it down to a single number. 3 squared is 9, and 9 minus 5 is 4. Well, we haven't talked a ton about it, but you've had this enough in the past. What's the square root of 4? Square root of 4, what squared equals 4 is 2. So 2 divided by 8. Now, some of you may have done that on your calculator and got 0.25. I'll accept that. But also, here's how they got 1/4. Well, 2 divided by 8, you can write that as 2 over 8. And that reduces to 1/4. 1/4 and 0.25 are equivalent. Okay. Just kind of circle any other issues you had. We'll go over them when we get time. Here's these 50 through 53, the original problems. And then, like you said, we went over the answers in this case here. All right, let's move into section 1.7. Simplifying expressions. And in simplifying expressions, we need to use the following. We use the commutative, we use associative, and we will use the distributive property a ton in this section and in the sections coming up. Now you might be saying, all right, what's the commutative? What's the associative? Those are two that you might recognize if you see it, but a lot of times they're hard to pick up. Okay, commutative property. Now you should have picked up your guided notes, or I should have given to you, so fill in anything that's missing. In terms of numbers, it basically means it doesn't matter which order you add. 3 plus 5 is the same as 5 plus 3. Okay, and 2 times 8 is the same as 8 times 2. And in algebra, basically, in terms of we throw in variables, a plus b is always going to equal b plus a. A times b is always going to be equal to b times a. So no matter what two numbers, 6 times 5 is going to equal the same as 5 times 6. 6 plus 5 is going to be the same as 5 plus 6. That is not true for subtraction and division. Real easy case, 3 minus 5 versus 5 minus 3 if you switch the order. Well, 3 minus 5 is negative 2. 5 minus 3 is positive 2. They are not equal. So the commutative property only works for addition and multiplication. Pretty similar for associative property. It works for addition and multiplication. For addition here, if you take a look here, basically if you switch the order of the parentheses, it's going to still give you the same answer. Your work's going to look different, but your answer is going to be the same. You have to do parentheses first according to order of operations. So in this case here, I have to do 3 plus 8. So this becomes 4 plus 11. Well, 4 plus 11 is 15. On the right side, I have to do parentheses. 4 plus 3 is 7. 7 plus 8 is 15. So in the end, they're always going to be the same. All right, in terms of variables or letters, A plus the quantity, B plus C, is equal to the quantity of A plus B plus C. So if you move the parentheses, it doesn't affect the final answer. The same is true when we are multiplying. Okay, so if I take a look over here on the left, I have to multiply 4 times 3 because they are in parentheses. Over here, I have to multiply 2 times 4, which is 8, because they are in parentheses. Multiply here, I got two different numbers, 2 and 12. Multiply together, get 24, but 8 times 3, even though they're two different values, they're always going to be the same. So that is the associative property. If your parentheses move, it's still going to be the same. Okay. Now this leads us to the distributive property. If you have a constant or a term on the outside, it can distribute to anything that's on the inside. So when I distribute A, I get A times B. When I distribute the A to the C, I multiply it. And you have to add, whatever that sign is, you have to add between there. So a case of what it looks like, whatever's in front has to multiply both terms on the inside. Well, 5 times x, you can't actually multiply it together, but you represent that answer as 5x. And that's positive 5 times positive 3, which is positive 15. Okay, that would be your answer for that distributive property. Okay, negative 2 is on the outside. Negative 2 is going to distribute to the y. That is negative 2y. That's all you can do is write it that way. Always put a constant in front of the variable. Never write anything like x3. Okay, that you would write as 3x. Never write anything as like y2. Write that as 2y. And now take negative 2 times 4. It's going to be minus 8. And then that's it. All right, for the third one. Okay, now these are both pluses. What happens when this is a minus? Okay, so you want to take it as negative 7 times y, which is negative 7y. Well, whatever sign's in front of there, you want to take that with that number. So you want to treat this as negative 7 times negative 2. Use your multiplication rules. What is a negative times a negative? A negative times a negative is a positive. You have to put a sign in there. And wait till you're done multiplying before you do that. Don't automatically put a plus or a minus sign until you've multiplied them through. And so you get negative 7y plus 14. So that's going to be your answer for that one. Okay, so that is the distributive property. All right, now that's going to help. We need this next step to kind of help put everything together. All right, well, what do you got here? I'm not trying to trick anybody here. We got what? 2 apples plus 3 apples. And I think we know if you got 2 apples plus 3 apples, it equals 5 apples. Well, in math, here's what I do. Instead of writing the word apple, I can use an abbreviation. I can use an A. Plus 2A stands for 2 apples, plus 3 apples, which I can use as 3a, is going to equal 5 apples, which is 5a. So 2a plus 3a equals 5a. Now this is a little bit different. What does 2 apples plus 3 bananas equal? You can't make a smoothie out of it. We just say it's 2 apples plus 3 bananas. Okay, so this would be 2a plus 3b. Well, you can't actually add those together. You can add 2 apples and 3 apples. I can't add 2 apples and 3 bananas, so I can't really simplify. I just have to I have to write it like this. And this leads us to what we call like terms. If something has the same variable to the same power, you can combine them by adding or subtracting. 2a plus 3a is 5a. You cannot add them together if they don't have the same variable. Okay, that's the only way you can add them. So 5x plus 6x equals 11x. 8y minus 2y. You just take 8 minus 2 is 6y, as long as those are exactly the same. So this leads us to like terms. Okay, the terms of an expression are the parts that are to be added or subtracted. Like terms. Okay. Like terms are terms that contain the same variables raised to the same powers. Constants are also like terms. You can add or subtract constants together. That's just common sense. But right here, 4x minus 3x, well, that's the same as 1x. And we could simplify that. Now here's what we want to do. Here we want to be able to simplify like terms. So like I said earlier, 3x plus 5x. That's just what? 8x. 4y minus 12y. All right, now we got to throw in our positives and negatives. You got to be able to do that. So it's like 4 minus 12. You can use your calculator. Use our rules that you just did. So that's like 4 plus negative 12. They are different signs. You are going to subtract them and take the sign of the larger one. So that's going to give me negative 8y. Okay, 4 minus 12 is the same as 4 plus negative 12, negative 8y. Negative 3a plus a. Okay, if you have an a, if you have something, there's no number written there, but there's really an unwritten number there. Anytime it's just a letter by itself, there's really a 1 in front of there. So you want to think of that as negative 3 plus 1. Well, negative 3 plus 1, different signs, subtract, take the sign of the larger number. So that one is going to be negative 2a. Anytime you have a variable by itself, remember there's a constant in front of it. All right, we haven't done a lot with exponents, but these are still like terms. Same variable x, same exponent. You do not do anything with the exponent, just the constants. Negative 3 plus 5 is positive 2. It stays x squared. All right, now these all simplified. A couple you got to be careful of. 4x plus 3y. You can't add those together because one has an x and one has a y. Now you can either say already simplified, or you can just write this as your answer, 4x plus 3y, or already simplified. And same thing here, 12x squared minus 9x. Now here's where you got to watch. We just added x squared and x squared. You can do that, but this one has an x squared. This one does not. These are not like terms. They cannot be combined. So you either write already simplified or negative 12x squared minus 9x. All right, I had to bring the dog in for a second. Now let's see here. We're at negative 12x squared minus 9x. Said we can't add those together. So you just rewrite the answer, or you can put already simplified. Okay, already simplified. So we got combining like terms, and we got the distributive property. Those are the two key things. And now we are going to put everything together. And you're going to see how these two kind of interact with each other. Not necessarily on this first one. All right, simplify. That basically means get rid of parentheses and combine like terms. So get rid of any parentheses, and you do that by distributing. Okay, and then the second thing you want to do is combine any like terms. So you have 4 times 2x minus 3. 4 times 2x is 8x. Remember, treat this as a negative 3. 4 times, and don't write your sign down until you have multiplied. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. That negative 12 just becomes your minus sign. So 4 times negative 3, I'm just going to erase that for a second. 4 times negative 3 is minus 12. This sign is not always going to be the same. It depends upon the signs of the numbers you're multiplying together. Now, you're supposed to combine like terms. There are no like terms because you have one with an x and one constant. That is your answer. Okay, that is your answer. All right, now we're getting some cases where we have more than just a single term outside and then one set of parentheses. We got this 2b in front. Well, on this one here, here's what you want to do. This is a negative 4. You're going to treat that as what's going to distribute to both of these. This 2b is by itself in front of that. That comes down. Now you take negative 4 times b. Well, anytime you multiply a number by a variable, it just becomes that number in front of the variable, minus 4b. Whatever the sign of the answer is becomes the sign in between, of the plus or the minus. Now this is negative 4 times negative 1. Well, negative 4 times negative 1 is a negative times a negative. Okay, so treat that as a negative 1. That's a positive now. A negative times a negative is a positive 4. Do we have any like terms? We do. 2b minus 4b. Now think of that as 2 minus 4, or 2 plus negative 4, and that's going to give you negative 2b plus 4. You got to show me this step and then this one, but you can use your calculator to do 2 minus 4. Okay, you can do that. That is fine to kind of help you out. Oh, I don't have the same calculator as you, but I have a calculator that I can call up here. For when I need it. I'm just going to clear it. Okay, now in this one here, negative 3 is going to distribute. And you're going to multiply negative 3 times 6x. Negative 3, treat that as a negative 4. Negative 3 times 6x is negative 18x. Negative 3 times negative 4, negative times a negative is a positive 12. Negative 3 times 5 is a minus or negative 15. Oh, nope. Sorry. This is plus is outside that parentheses. You do not multiply the negative 3 times it. You just bring that down. Okay, do not multiply negative 3 times that. Now you got like terms. You got to go in order. 12 plus 5 is 17. You cannot combine anything with an x with a number without an x, which is a constant. That's going to be your answer. Negative 18x plus 17. All right, now I got 2 sets of parentheses. Okay, 2 sets. On the first set, the 6 is going to multiply by the 2 numbers in the first set of parentheses. And the second one, the -8, is going to multiply both of them. So now this becomes 6 times 6x, which is 36x. 6 times -5. Treat that as a -5. That's going to be a -30. So the answer is -30. Let your sign be, your plus or your minus. -8 times 24 is -24x. And -8 times -1. -8 times -1 is +8. If you're not sure, you can do it this. Take your calculator. -8 times -1. And then that just gives back you a +8. There's no negative, but you got to put a plus there. And now you have, do we have any like terms? Do you have anything more than one thing with an X? Yes, I got a 36. This is a -24. The minus sign needs to go with it. Now, a lot of times what you can do is you can group these so that the terms with the X are together and the constants are together. So if I do that, I'm going to take this -24x and write it first, but that negative needs to go with the 24. That's a -30. And so now I have to add those two together, 36 minus 24. And if you got it, then you don't need to go your calculator. If you're not sure, use your calculator. Hold on. So now I have 36 minus 24. You can't put the x in your calculator, but just make it 12x. Now treat that as, you have to treat this as -30 plus 8. Okay, that's a negative and a positive. You actually subtract the two numbers, take the sign of the larger one. The negative will become our minus sign. Okay, the negative will become our minus sign. All right, let's look at this one here. Copy that one down. If it's not, I can't remember if that one's on your paper or not. All right, same deal. The 3 distributes to the two terms inside those parentheses. The 5, the +5. Think of that as +5. Will distribute to the 3x and the -2. 3 times 2x is 6x. 3 times 4 is +12. 5 times 3x is +15x. 5 times -2 is -10 because it's a -10. All right, I'm going to rearrange these and put the like terms together. So I got 6x is the like term, and then +15x. Then I'm just going to put down my +12, and then I'm going to put down -10. All right, 6 plus 15, 21x. +12 minus 10. 12 minus 10, and that's all you need to do on your calculator. That gives me 2. But you just can't put down 2. You got to put down +2. So that's our answer. For right now, I want you to circle every answer, identify it when we are done. So I need to make that -2b plus 4. All right, why don't you, here on these, to save a little bit of time, instead of doing, let's just do these two. Do 1 and 3. Write those down. Try them. Okay, see what answer you get. Pause this. Pause this for a second. Try those. Okay, and now when you unpause it, I'll come back and I'll go through it with you. These are these are the key ones. We're using distributive property and combining like terms. All right, hopefully you're back. You got your answers. Let me go through it. Let's see if they match up. -5 times -3. A negative times a negative is a +15x. -5 times +2 is a -10. When you have a single number in front of like a term with a variable and a constant, you're not going to have anything to combine. So it's just 15x minus 10. -2 times 1 is -2. -2 times -7n. Negative times a negative is a plus. Let me get that little mark out of there. Plus 14n. 4, positive 4 times 10 is plus 40. 4 times 4n is plus 16n. I always like to write, and here's what you need to do. You always write the terms of the variable first. So even though this -2 is first, when I rearrange them, I'm going to put the variable first. I'm going to put 14n first. And then the next one is plus 16n. And this minus sign goes wherever that 2 is, so it becomes -2 plus 40. 14 plus 16. You just add those together. If you need to pull this out, do it just to help yourself get it right, and it's 30n. Now treat this as, you got to be careful. A lot of people want to take 2 plus 40. You have to think of this as -2 plus 40. They're actually opposite signs. When you add them together, you get plus 38. Okay, and that's going to be your answer here. All right, good. All right, here's your homework assignment or classwork. Okay, get started if you got a little bit of time left. Make sure you start it on your own sheet of paper, put the assignment on top, and then write down each problem and show your steps as needed. Okay. All right, hopefully you did really good on the quiz, and then we'll be back at it tomorrow. All right, let me stop this.